Hey there, men. Mike Yarbrough of Wolf and Iron here. Thanks for tuning in once again to the Wolf and Iron podcast. You're checking out a Truck Talk Thursday episode, so happy Thursday to you guys. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I want to say welcome to you. Glad to have you here. This is me talking in my truck to you guys about whatever's on my heart and mind, whatever I think men need to hear, and just speaking rather candidly to you guys. And last episode, so this is a follow-up episode for the last one. In the last one, I talked about overcoming or defeating the defeatist mindset. And that's a good episode. If you haven't checked it out, you definitely need to. This is going to kind of dovetail that one or piggyback maybe off of it, because we're going to be talking about how to help other people become aware and overcome the defeatist mindset in themselves. And so a lot of times it's easier to see these things in others. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's friends of yours, maybe it's the child. But in any case, we've got our own work to do. But obviously as men, we want to be able to help other people do their work as well to overcome the challenges in their life and to be the best they can be. Now look, if you haven't really connected with Wolf and Iron yet, a great way to do that is by heading over to wolfandiron.com/thegroup. And that'll take you over to our free Facebook page. And I think I'm right in saying this. Some of the best guys on the internet over there. Just fantastic men in our group. Men of high caliber, as I often say. Guys who really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of things. Have good discussions, have some jokes, have some laughs. But also just a tremendous amount of wisdom over there. So we don't let anybody in. Head over there and put in your application, so to speak, answer a couple of questions, and hopefully we'll see you over there. Okay, so helping other people overcome or defeat their defeatist mindset. So the biggest challenge here is that, most of us want to take the direct approach, right? Let's say that our wife has a reoccurring, just negative attitude about life, or she's always in fear, or she seems to be has a negative outlook on things. I can't remember if it was, I can't remember which president it was. It was either Garfield or someone else. But they said, basically, I saw 10 troubles coming down the road, and 9 of them fell into the ditch before they got to me. Right? And, I wish I could remember the name of the person. Anyhow, great quote. The point of that is, we oftentimes have a cloudy outlook on things, a negative outlook on things, and we kind of foresee troubles before they actually appear, right? And most of the things that we worry about in life don't actually manifest. It's just us getting out of shape. Now, that's not necessarily a defeatist attitude, but it can lead to it, and it can actually preempt the defeatist attitude. So a defeatist would say, look at all these problems coming down. There's no way coming down the road at me. There's no way I'm going to be successful. Why do I even try? And so we covered that in the last episode. But to help someone see that, kind of see how it begins in them, the best way to do that is really just ask questions. And it's not necessarily to make them directly aware, but so that they can hopefully become more self-aware. And so questions may end up being something like this. Hey, you seem to be pretty anxious, or you don't seem to be yourself, or maybe they're actually acting just like themselves, and that's how you're aware of these things. But or you seem to be stressed out, or you seem to be worried. Where do you think that's coming from? Okay, and get them to just kind of, and maybe that's where you leave it. Maybe they're a talker, and they'll come out and they'll say, well, I'm worried about this or about that, or I just don't know if this is going to be successful because of these problems. And if you feel like it's the right timing, maybe ask a follow-up question. I wonder how true that really is. And maybe share something from your own life. For myself, sometimes, there are a lot of things that I worry about that end up, I look back on and go, man, I shouldn't have really been worried about that stuff. It all worked out anyhow. And sometimes it keeps me from doing the things that I know I ought to be doing. Just leave it there. Other questions you can ask, something like, hey, what's preventing you from doing X? Fill in the blank. What do you think is holding you back? Get them to really start thinking about it, right? Now, at some point, you may have to be a little bit more bold. And you can be more direct without being as direct. I think this oftentimes comes across better when you're in a leadership position. Maybe you're talking to a team worker. And so a teammate, a peer, well, it could be a peer, but it could also be someone who kind of works for you, but in any case, you're a mentor over or you're leading in some kind of way. And maybe they have a negative outlook about the project or every project, or maybe they have a defeatist mindset about solving the problem. So this is particularly relevant for me. I come from a software development background, and customers will come to us with all of these crazy ideas that would be amazing if we could do the things, but the time and the energy and all that kind of stuff it would take would be pretty enormous. Yet we have to find some kind of solution that's going to either meet them halfway or actually solve the problem. This is where we get creative. The people who have that negative Nancy, defeatist outlook are going to say, no, there's no way we can do that. And they'll just tell the customer flat out, no, we can't do that, or that's impossible. And they'll even argue with you about it, if you're trying to be chipper about it and like, yeah, I think we can make this happen, or we'll give it a shot and get back with you. The Debbie Downers of the world will say, no, we can't do it, don't even go there. And so if you have to address these things, one of the ways that you can do this is a technique I learned from a counselor friend. Is like this. He says, I have some thoughts on that, maybe on their attitude, or have some thoughts about how you're approaching that. Do you mind if I share those with you? And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, that is straight gold. You can take it to the bank. It is one of the best ways to offer advice to somebody without catching them off guard, or it helps them to kind of lower their defenses, because what's happening there is they're agreeing with it. We talked in the last episode about how we make agreements with things, and that are negative things, maybe unconsciously. But here's somebody making a conscious agreement to basically accept your advice, at least to hear you out. And you're offering it in such a way that it's non-threatening. You're not saying, you've got to do this. You're basically saying, here's my opinion, take it or leave it. So once again, that looks like this. Hey, I have some thoughts that I'd like to share on that. Do you mind if I share those with you? Or I have some thoughts on that. They might be helpful. Do you mind if I share that? You see how I sounded like I actually cared when I was portraying that demonstration for you guys? Most of the time we do care, and we should care, but hopefully it comes across in the way that you're speaking as well. In any case, it's a great way to help them to lower their guard and to be able to share these thoughts. And the thoughts should be something like this. I've noticed that whenever a challenge comes up in your life or on a project, that you tend to have a negative view of how to approach that. Maybe even a I don't think I can do it kind of mindset. And here's where you kind of say, once again, from your own perspective, I've, when I see this in my own life, I recognize that I'm really not being true to myself, and I'm using it sort of as a defense mechanism. I'm trying to keep myself safe, keep myself free from disappointment, and so I come up with reasons why I don't think that I can accomplish what I want to accomplish. Do you think maybe that's what's happening with you as well? What are your thoughts on that? Does that resonate at all? Right? And so guys, once again, the goal here is to get them to become self-aware. That's really the key. Not just to tell them straight out, hey, you're a Debbie Downer, you're always negative, you seem to have this defeatist attitude. And in fact, that may actually just push them further down into where into that defeatist mindset. We've got to help people become more aware, and sometimes that takes time. It doesn't always happen in the moment. Sometimes it happens a year later. They reflect on what you said, and they go, you know what? It took a while for that to resonate, but that seed was planted, eventually grew up into something awesome. And so that's just some ways to kind of break the ice and help people begin to see things. It's great to empathize if you can. It's also great to remember the times where life has turned out better than expected. David in the Bible had a book of remembrance, and he would, when something good would happen, he would write it down in the book, or have somebody write it because he was a king, have someone write this event down in the book of Remembrance. And when he was having a hard time having faith that God was good, that God would really keep his promises, David would say, bring me and read to me from my book of remembrance. And so whether that's an actual physical book that you have, a journal, and you want to go to that, or whether it's just stories that you remember, where God came through, where life turned out better than you expected, where the impossible became possible, you want to have those things at the ready. And those are going to help you, and it's also going to help other people. Especially if this is with your spouse. So your wife's maybe having these troubles, fear, being fearful, and maybe not all the time, but just maybe on occasion, maybe at certain times of the month, as it so happens. Or maybe it is certain anniversaries of certain events, and she becomes, kind of gets a depressive spell or something like that. Just reminding, hey, remember when this happened? That was awesome. Remember when we were worried about this, but it turned out okay? That was so good. I bet this is going to be the same way. And so I think that'll be helpful. Another resource that you guys can tap into, and it may be a good way to, not only for yourself, but you can also give this to other people as well, is the book is called The Obstacle is the Way, and it's by Ryan Holiday. I actually had to pause and look that up, so there's a bit of a jump there. I couldn't remember the author's name. But The Obstacle is the Way. It's a book on Stoicism. And Stoicism really helps us overcome this defeatist mindset in a couple of different ways, but primarily by objectifying events. And that means looking at them objectively rather than looking at them as an, oh my gosh, it's all about me. What's going to be the consequences on me? And so events, circumstances, objectifying those things and making rational decisions about them. And reading through that book, kind of understanding that the challenges are actually the very ways in which we learn Stoicism, and are oftentimes the ways in which we find unique success. It really puts us in a different kind of mindset. If you can begin to, instead of thinking about the challenges in life as problems that need to be solved, rather than opportunities for you to grow and to mature in ways that are going to benefit you long term. Now, then that's definitely going to help you out. Obviously, if you have challenge after challenge, and if your life is just a litany of problems, that gets old. I totally understand that. But every single one of us has the opportunity when we're faced with challenges to determine how we're going to view that. Do we see the obstacle as sort of a course that needs to be ran and overcome? See how well we do? Understanding we might get beat up, we might get bruised, might get scraped up along the way, but that there's honor in that, and it's honor in how we approach it. Or do we see obstacles and challenges as, like timid little rabbits? We're worried about it. I don't know if I can do it. What if I fail? So Stoicism can really help out with that. Obviously, as a Christian as well, I believe that there are a number of Stoic kind of principles in Christianity, but I believe where Stoicism leaves off and really doesn't, quite fulfill, the mandate of what it means to think rightly, Christianity does. And I think Christ absolutely demonstrates that. I think Christianity gives us this backing of, God's ultimately in control. We all have limited control over life anyhow, and that there's someone else who has things in hand. Doesn't necessarily mean our circumstances are going to be easy. But, Christ said, I came to give you life and life more abundantly. What does that mean? Well, I believe it doesn't mean that he said that he came to give us easy circumstances or to make life easier. In fact, he says in many ways your life is going to be harder if you're a follower of Christ. But that you can still have life. That you can have the joy even in those difficult challenges. So fellas, I hope this is helpful. I hope that it helps you guys help other people overcome their defeatist mindset, that learned helplessness that we talked about in the last episode. If you have any questions, post them out there in the Facebook group regarding this kind of stuff. I think the guys would love to have a conversation about this. Once again, you can head over there by going to wolfandiron.com/thegroup. If you're already a member, make sure you invite a friend out there so that other guys who need to get these kind of messages out there in front of them, that need the camaraderie, that need the tribe in their life, which is all of us, that they can be a part of that as well. Until next time, guys. Talk to you later.